Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining and welcome to GeoIgnite. My name is Briana Brown and I'm a geographer at Safegraph. If you're not familiar with us, Safegraph is a geospatial data company and that's our entire focus, just data. We curate data about the physical world for uses across all industries and power analytics at organizations around the globe. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about how to perform an accurate geospatial analysis in a world that is changing so quickly and drastically on what seems to be a day-to-day basis. Whether we realize it or not, we interact with points of interest data pretty regularly. Think about how you as an individual, not as an employee of a company or a researcher at a university, whatever you do professionally, think about how you live your life in relation to the things around you. When you're looking for a new restaurant to try, do you explore options based on what type of food it serves and where it's located? Or if you're out and about and realize you need an ATM, do you open a mapping application and search for one? Even without using technology to locate things, do you take a mental note of the grocery store that just closed down the street and then know that you can't go there anymore? All of these instances are ways that you're interacting with points of interest in your daily life. Okay, but now think back to your professional life. How do you develop the same confidence in your decision-making without the level of familiarity you have with your personal surroundings? For example, if you're developing a new green space proposal for a city on the other side of the country, how do you know for a fact that the transit stop you think will make the green space accessible to the public? How do you know it's actually there, open, and functioning? Or if you're researching food deserts, how do you know for certain that a new health food store hasn't opened in your study area if you haven't physically been there? Even if you have physically been there, did you notice it and write it down? Curating a source of truth for physical places to help answer these questions is our entire focus at Safegraph. We spend 100% of our time building high-quality points of interest data and updating it for freshness each month so that organizations can have a reliable record of what is happening where. Places is our flagship data set, and we build all of our other data based upon that. I'll go over what columns it includes in more detail in a minute, but some highlights are brand name, open-close date, makes code, and open hours. Places provides the detailed and fresh POIs for which we then generate polygons that make up our geometry data set. Our geometry data includes spatial hierarchy information that denotes when a store is inside a mall or enclosed by another building or polygon, whatever the situation may be. With these accurate polygons, we then source anonymized and aggregated mobility data and attribute those pings to specific locations, and that's what builds our patterns data set, which provides general volume indicators of where people are spending their time. We offer that at two different levels, the POI level and community level. So in Canada, we have general movement volume between dissemination areas as well as at specific store locations. And finally, we just launched this year our spend data set, which provides aggregated and anonymized transaction data for specific places. So all of these data sets help to bring location intelligence and context to specific POIs. And geometry, patterns, and spend are all meant to enrich that flagship data set places, which serves as the basis of an analysis. In October of last year, we launched Places globally. You might remember last year at GeoIgnite when we presented, we only had data for the US and Canada. We were about to launch in the UK. Well, now we have officially launched around the entire world. So our goal is to provide high quality POI data for any place, anywhere in the world. We initially started building this data set to cover top name brands, like some of the logos you see here on this slide, but we've since expanded to also include smaller brands and mom and pop stores. We've had a lot of users request this global expansion over the years for a few reasons. One is that in an increasingly globalized and interconnected world, data scientists are often comparing markets or communities across the globe, so they need a uniform data set to do so. Another is that global POI data can also vary drastically depending on its source. I'm sure everybody is familiar with messy data and trying to bring together disparate sources. So even once all of the data from different sources is combined and analyzed, the results are not always trustworthy if you use this method. To eliminate these problems for data scientists, at Safegraph, we're rapidly expanding our global coverage so that the same quality you've come to expect for our US, Canada, and UK data is available worldwide. Because we update our POI database monthly, we ensure freshness and accuracy in the data we deliver, in addition to constantly increasing our coverage month over month. If you're interested in a specific brand, category, or region of POIs that we don't currently cover, let us know and we'll see what we can do. Like I said, we're always looking to improve the data set and make it more usable for data scientists. So what does the data actually look like? As a geographer, I know that I always need to see the schema before I can start to really picture the possibilities with a data set. I mentioned before that places includes base POI information, as well as more detailed facts about that specific place. So you can see here the traditional fields most people are probably familiar with POIs, such as latitude, longitude, address, location name. But you'll also see fields for brands, NAICS codes, top and subcategory, open close dates, open hours, contact information, and category tags. These details are what enable you to see that a place is located at a specific geographic location, is affiliated with a certain brand, is part of a particular sub-industry within an industry. Think, for example, Mexican restaurants within the general restaurant industry, or has been open in operation since a specific date, or is only open on certain days and times. So, for example, on the left, we see a Nike store in London. The location name is Nike Town, London. That's the specific store's name, but the brand is Nike. Having both of these fields allows you to see the entire Nike brand footprint while also understanding key context like that particular store's name. We can also see the landscape of a particular category of business to better understand how certain areas are either missing types of places or are a dominant area for a certain category. On the right, we see some polygons for POIs in the management of companies and enterprises category in Toronto. Many times POI data like this is used to power consumer-facing applications, whether created by a local government looking to engage with and inform constituents, or a brand looking to bring in business. Whatever the app is for, there's one thing that cannot be compromised, and that's accuracy. Inaccurate POI data in consumer-facing applications creates a poor user experience, can lead to customer churn, and have an overall negative impact on the organization. Safegraph curates our data to be the most accurate and precise POI data for the entire world, and a key component of that is maintaining freshness, since so many places open, close, change names, what have you, on a day-to-day basis. These open-close fields are particularly interesting when considering how dynamically the world changes, especially in regards to businesses opening or closing. By some estimates, 20% of new businesses close within 1 year of opening. In 2020, 40% of small businesses in Canada closed voluntarily, so not due to a government mandate, but just because they couldn't stay in business. We've developed a tried and true methodology for determining when places have opened, as well as if and when they closed, so that our database remains fresh. We also provide a column that tells you how long we've been tracking closed on dates so that you know if we need to add supplementary information to your analysis. We're not perfect, we're a young business, so if there are some places that have been around or closed a while ago, we might not have coverage of that. We know that, we want to be transparent about it, so we'll always let you know within the data set. The opened on and closed on date fields are extremely helpful for monitoring how certain brands, industries, or overall communities have either grown or contracted over a specific period of time. Urban planners, real estate developers, and economists alike can benefit from up-to-date information about what resources, brands, or amenities are available in a community, so they can identify underserved areas or areas of opportunity. We often see open and closed dates used for economists to analyze the economic health of an area, whether macro or micro. For example, seeing that QSRs have closed in greater quantities in predominantly business or office areas of a city, while the same category is open in greater quantities in suburbs, may help economists measure the economic impact of working from home trends. While Safegraph doesn't provide individual housing units like single-family homes or individual apartments, we do provide POI data for apartment, townhome, and condo complexes. We've seen an increase in demand for these types of places because of how apartment complexes are considered more and more as businesses themselves. Think about how these places usually have leasing offices located inside, or even think about the advertising real estate that's available within each complex. This advertising use case is actually rising in popularity really quickly. A lot of apartment buildings now contain more advertising space than they used to, such as posters or interactive televisions in lobbies and elevators. Ad tech companies are starting to expand their campaigns to include these types of buildings, so as to reach people through out-of-home advertising when they are almost home, as well as when they're out and about. They're turning to apartment POIs to know how they can leverage innovative new advertising spaces, stay ahead of the competition, improve ad spend efficiency, and ultimately close the gap between in-home and out-of-home advertising. Over the last couple of years, the real estate industry has changed a lot. Many people are leaving cities for suburbs, and the populations of people in certain apartment buildings are changing as well. If apartment POIs, or the POIs just located around apartment complexes, are inaccurate, even if they're outdated by just a month, ad tech companies or whoever is using them could be wasting valuable spend and mistargeting campaigns or overall strategies. These types of advertising opportunities are also available at places without traditional geometries, like transit stops or kiosks. We recently launched point POIs to cover these types of places, since despite their lack of four walls, they're still relevant places that people interact with. ATMs are another example. These are all places people interact with pretty regularly. They're critical extensions of businesses, and they're changing just as much as the rest of the world, even if they don't have a traditional building structure like most POI data sets would cover. We actually see urban planners really interested in point POIs because of the ability to see amenities and access to places like transit stops or EV charging stations. Many municipal governments have programs that offer businesses a tax break if they install EV charging stations. And community planners need to make sure those who need to access an EV charging station actually can go to them, they have them nearby, or similarly that people in every community have access to public transportation that need it. These points have trade areas just like stores do, so similar questions can be asked, like where are public transit stops located within a community? What amenities are lacking sufficient public transportation options? Is there a gap in EV charging station availability? How does that align with EV charging demand? Without reliable information about when these places opened or closed, it's impossible to measure how communities have changed over time or where there are recent gaps in accessibility for certain places. And even though consumers might not interact with some places in a traditional sense, that doesn't mean they're irrelevant for geospatial analytics. We've seen a huge surge in demand for industrial POIs, like warehouses, storage units, manufacturing facilities, and data centers, as businesses and governments navigate the global supply chain. Industrial POIs are increasingly critical for many organizations as they either plan their own production process based on consumer demand and supply availability, or if they're just conducting research into the overall economy and global supply chain. Industrial places help answer questions like, will there be enough material to make a certain product? Where in the supply chain is a product right now as it's being produced? How long will it take for these products to be delivered to their end destination? How much storage capacity is there for products in this area? How does regional consumer demand align with regional supply and storage capacity? All of these types of questions that can be answered with industrial POIs like warehouses or manufacturing facilities. The supply chain is so volatile right now that maintaining an accurate view of where key industrial points are is more important than ever. If POI data is updated only yearly or quarterly, as many POI datasets are, it's not aligned with the dynamic nature of the supply chain or the real world. For example, you can monitor open dates of warehouses in certain areas to help quantify how online shopping behavior is evolving in a region and help with retail or urban planning. But if you don't have a monthly update cadence, you're not really dealing with the real world. You might be modeling closed locations or not factoring in a new warehouse that might have just opened. So to access Safegraph data, like our flagship places data set, again, that's updated monthly so that it does have the freshness that we just talked about is so important for geospatial analysis in our changing world. You can do a few different things, so I'll walk you through those options right now. We offer traditional bulk delivery of our data through Snowflake or an S3 bucket. So if you're interested in that, set up time to talk with us and we'll connect with you and help guide you through whichever data delivery method is best for you. This is generally the most cost-effective way if you're purchasing a lot of data at once. But if you're interested in a smaller sample of data and would like to customize the exact rows and columns you receive, you can pay per record and instantly download a CSV file of the data from our site at shop.safegraph.com. So those are two ways that you could get traditional like CSVs of our data. We've also partnered, though, with leading organizations to make Safegraph data available directly in the analytics platforms you're already using. So I mentioned Snowflake and AWS before, but we also have integrations of Esri, Carto, Databricks, Domo, and Tableau, and others so that you can easily work with reliable POI data in your own familiar environment, join it with other data sets that you might be working with, whether first or third party, and not have to change your entire workflow just to start getting these types of insights. We also have an API you can call to get the exact data you need. We often see data scientists using the API to power Find My Nearest searches or to determine when specific places are busiest. So there are a lot of different use cases for it, but if you prefer to get your data through an API, we also have that option for you. And in general, if you want to find out more about our Canadian data offerings, you can find out more information at safegraph.com/region/Canada. Again, we do offer our places data globally, including Canada. And within Canada, we also offer geometry patterns and neighborhood patterns. So if you're interested in those data sets, you can find out more at this URL.
Hi, Briana. Thanks so much for that presentation.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And we want to thank Safegraph for being one of our gold sponsors and allowing us to keep this event free and open for the entire community.
Awesome. Yeah, we're happy to be here.
Great. Yeah. I noticed right away that you guys have a lot more data from last year. There's a lot more going on. You kind of mentioned that you had a Canadian data set last year. You were about to do the UK stuff, but I'm also seeing a lot of other data sets. Congratulations. As a former GIS specialist, that high quality data is always very much appreciated. So very cool to see. We've got a question. So yeah, everybody, the question and answer time is now. We've got some time to do that. Please put your questions in the Q&A system and I will read them out. We're going to start with probably a very one that everybody wants to know about. So what data sets are provided for Canada and how often is that data updated?
Yeah, sure. So you're absolutely right. In the past year, we've expanded globally. So we do now offer data around the world, but in Canada, we have a wide variety of data sets. So our flagship data places, that's that, core POI, lat long with brand affiliation and open close dates, things like that. That is available in Canada, updated monthly. Similarly, our place footprints, our geometry data set, that is available in Canada, updated monthly. And then our patterns data, so our anonymized foot traffic data, that is available, updated on a weekly basis for Canada to specific places. And we do also offer that at a dissemination area level in our neighborhood patterns.
If somebody wanted to buy some data or get started, maybe they first want to get a sample data set or something like that, what's the best way to get started?
Yeah, so Canada specifically, we do have a landing page. It was on the URL was on the last slide in that presentation. It's safegraph.com/region/Canada. So if you want to see Canadian data specifically and download a free Canadian data sample, you could go there. But we do offer a lot of different free data sets if you just go to our site. So if you go in our top navigation bar on our website, you can go to products and then free data, and you can download a bunch of different samples. There's some of our global data, our new spend data set that is currently US only, but if you're looking to see that, you can download a free sample of that. So that's where you can get our free data, but we do also have an online store. So if you just go to shop.safegraph.com, you can search by geography, search by brand, and that is currently available for our US, Canadian, and UK data. So you can find exactly what data sets you're looking for there and pay per record.
Very cool. So what can you tell us about where does this data come from? How is it being put together?
Yeah, that's like a huge question. So I'll do my best to tackle it in this forum. But so for places, we work with a variety of different data providers to curate really like the most accurate data that is available out there. So a lot of times that's crawling store locators online, sourcing from maybe like government sources or public sources. And really like we do all the hard work of bringing in multiple disparate data sources, cleaning it and creating an output that is the most accurate for your analysis, or for like updated on a monthly basis. Then geometry is much the same, although we do have some machine learning in there to sort of to figure out the geometries of buildings, like based on imagery and things, or in the rare case that we don't have the exact polygon outline, we do create what we call synthetic polygons. So that's just our best estimate, or sometimes it could be a centroid radius, but again, that's like a very rare case. And for patterns, I know that's the one everybody's always most interested in. So we partner with a couple of different applications where people have opted into sharing their location, and we only get like the anonymized like volume counts of how many phones that have opted into like sharing their location have crossed a geofence. We actually use our own geofences with our polygon data to build that. So that's where that data comes from. And then our spend data set, we partner with a leading financial transaction data provider to be able to bring that to the market and tie it back to, again, our own places data. So long story short, all of our data sets, starting with places, like really build upon each other. And so we use our own data sets to create the other ones, and then enrich it with other information that we source from just a variety of different sources.
Great. So it sounds like you're getting data about where people are and what they're doing. And of course, as well, associating that with where are they? What are they doing that's happening in that spot? How much AI is being put into this equation?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an engineer, so I probably can't answer that or give that as much like time as it deserves. But we definitely have a combination of like our own, like processes around like AI and machine learning and all of that help to build these data sets. So our engineering team, I know they have like a few different processes like patented to help create our data. So I know they're doing a lot of that, but again, I'm probably not the best person to answer that.
No problem.
No, go ahead.
You've got a workshop coming up. It's called Maintaining Quality Places Data, Building a Digital Source of Truth for the Physical World. That's on March 7th. Can you give us a little bit of a preview of that? Who should go to that? What they're going to learn?
Sure, absolutely. So, something you mentioned a couple seconds ago is that we have data about where places are, where people are. And really over the last year, we've started to really hone in on the just where places are side of things. So while we do offer that sort of like, where are people going? How are they spending their time? While we do offer that enriching information, really what we're focusing on, even with that, with our patterns data set, is providing the context around what is happening, like where these people are. The reason for that is because we've found that a lot of people actually do have cell phone ping data from whatever source they're working with, but they don't really have any context to tie to it. And so one of the additional pieces of context that we're working really hard to bring to data scientists or GIS users right now is accurate open close information, and just really maintaining an accurate understanding of what is going on at specific locations. So that training session is going to be really a deep dive into how we curate such an accurate data set, how we ensure that it's actually reflecting what's like a super, fast changing world, how we know we're staying on top of business openings and closings or open hour changes, things like that. So again, just a deep dive into how we really curate that additional context for whatever you might be analyzing, whether it's people, transactions, communities, like at a larger scale. So that's what that deep dive session is going to cover. So anybody that's really interested in just understanding the accuracy and how to just like best practices for maintaining an up-to-date data set, that would be a good person to join. or anybody that's just really more interested in how we create our data and source it and all of that.
Very cool. You've got me curious about we talked about different information you collect to build some of these data sets. Does Safegraph bring in anything like social media into the equation?
We don't at this time. We're partnered with Spatial AI, and I know we worked on a couple cool projects with them last year, where we tied our foot traffic data to some social media like sentiment data to see like where people with certain sports teams affiliations as communicated on their social media were traveling, and then like what brands they were most likely to visit. So we don't have any social media inputs on our data right now, but we do partner with companies like Spatial AI, and there's a lot of other ones out there that provide that sort of thing.
Okay, well, great. Thank you very much. So we've run out of questions and we're coming up to the break. Briana, is there anything you would like to leave the attendees with, a final thought or note?
No, well, thanks for having me, and make sure to check out safegraph.com for, those free data sets that I mentioned, or you can just explore the various content pieces that we have on there. We have a lot of interactive dashboards, which I know are always fun to play with. So check it out. And yeah, thanks again for having me.
Thank you, Briana, and thank you to the Safegraph team for putting together the presentation and helping us support the community here in Canada.